Hey guys, Ralph and Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with my ongoing X-Files, a closer look into season 3, episode 9, Nisei. A first of a two-part show, right? 731 is the next in line. Nisei drops November 24th, 1995. David Nutter back on the scene directing, and written combination of both Howard Gordon and Frank Spotnitz. Very well. Dude, this is packed, man. This is packed. And not just the episode, but a few interesting things. There's a great scene early on in the episode where Scully comes into Mulder's office. Maybe it's sort of joint shared office, but he's watching the famed alien autopsy, which he apparently got through the mail for $29.95, if I remember right. And Scully, of course, makes a great spoof of it by not just recognizing that that's not his usual brand of entertainment, which by now we know what he watches in his off time, and but also she spoofs the idea that that one looked hokier than the one that just aired on the Fox network a few weeks ago, which the alien autopsy had in fact aired on the Fox network not too long prior to this show. So a nice little, I don't know, meta moment. But anyways, got me to thinking, in short, God, you know, it's just the old fangos, right? Remember these, man, when we used to answer the ads? Like, I was just looking at this, Dawn of the Dead Rare 140-minute version, VHS, $22, postpaid, check or money order to Scott, I'll just leave the last name, blah, 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 blah. This is from New York, actually. Obscure films on video, Surge. Oh, and, you know, in light of this episode, Japanese animation, Chinese horror, action, and a list of things there. But it just calls to mind the days that we would actually scour these things, looking for things that we could send away for. And even back, man, if you're old enough like me, you remember the days when you would scour the back of a cereal box and send away for that prize, which would take, well, kind of like a pre-order these days. It'd take like 3 months to get. So if you ordered it towards the end of school, you were lucky enough to get it during the summer if you were lucky. But anyways, I thought that was pretty cool. Nisei, a David Nutter episode again. This one's packed, man. This is just continuing the alien mythos arc of the show. Conspiracies abound in this one. It opens up with, well, you know what? It opens up, it's interesting. You get, you know, you're in a train yard, and then you got some kids on bikes that are sort of pulling up to see a train pass by, and on the back end, you're presumed maybe it's a dad of one of the kids, or maybe it's just something they're used to doing. But a guy is on the back end, waves to the kids. But it made me think about the Fighting Sullivans, that old World War II movie, if you remember, where all the boys die on the same ship. It kind of reminded me of that. That leads into, once they drop a train or a section of the train off, we jump into the middle of the night, and we get those spooky characters, scientists who get on the train car and begin what looks like to be the alien autopsy moment, only to be ambushed by what looks like military personnel, gun them all down. The conspiracy is afoot. What is going on here? So, you know, Scully comes in, finds Mulder watching this, and, you know, after she's, you know, kind of played spoof with it, he says, well, I don't know if you've seen anything quite like this. And he, you know, and she comes around, she's staring at the screen, and that's where you get the last moment where the troops are coming through the door, end of videotape. And she kind of, and this, again, both Gillian and David at times have the most awesome expressions that just convey so much emotion. It is just amazing to me. I just absolutely love this series. And I'm falling in love with it more and more with every episode, which is so weird because, you'd think you would get bored of things after a while. And this is just one of those weird things where, man, I'm just like, I can't get enough of it, man. 45 minutes is not long enough. I want to see this thing out to an hour and a half, 2 hours. But maybe a 45-minute is good to maintain that, right? So you got a lot of things happening here. So Mulder, they're tracking down the lead in terms of who he bought this videotape from. It's the guy who ships things out of his house in Allentown, PA. And when they go there, of course, I think the door's ajar, maybe. So they go in, and as they're walking around looking, they find him tied up, shot, assassination style. And before they really could analyze anything, Mulder detects movement, sees somebody trying to make their way out. There's a chase, which, by the way, David does pretty much all stunts in this, which is amazing considering the feat at the end, which took about 6 weeks, the jump from the bridge to the train, which is pretty amazing. And so my littlest, Max, was watching with me this morning, and he says, how can Mulder just scale a fence like that? And I'm like, well, baby, you got to look, beyond the other side of the fence and imagine there's probably a staircase of sorts that allows him the movement up, and then he, jumps over. I said, but it's still a stunt in of itself, and the fact that, you could land on the other side, break an ankle, twist an ankle, something, anything can happen. Is pretty noteworthy, the fact he did it himself, because you're always risking something, even if it's a minor, and a minor injury could delay a show. As we all know, what could happen, right? So anyways, he chases him down, gets him down. A little later on at the police station, well, there is a bit of a fight between the two, which leads to a great moment where Mulder has his gun knocked out of his hand, and before the guy could jump on over the other side, he has another gun on the bottom of his leg that he pulls out, fires a warning shot, and then the line is, I'm tired of losing my gun, which is great. Later on in the police station, they're good luck questioning this guy. He's Japanese. They don't know who he is, other than he may have committed this assassination. Mulder takes his briefcase away from him in the yard outside the house, which was the smartest move ever. Doesn't turn it over, which leads to all the multiple breadcrumbs needed, I guess, which wouldn't have been there had he actually turned it over like he should have turned it over. But Skinner shows up at the station, and he basically, which is a great line. I mean, there's so many great lines in this, but Mulder is like, look at that, I don't know, a light in the darkness, or something like beam of light, or something like that. And as Skinner approaches, he says, I don't suppose you know Japanese. And Skinner, of course, says, I wish I would. We might be avoiding an international controversy or whatever. And he's like, what gives? And, well, it turns out the guy is a high-ranking diplomat for the Japanese government. So, the intrigue is just, intriguing conspiracy is just expanding rapidly. But later on outside, realizing they're about to lose this guy because they're going to have to let him go. Outside, him and Scully are just examining the contents of the briefcase, and Mulder decides, one lead, he'll go back to Washington, D.C. like Skinner asked, and he'll actually, lay some of this paperwork, pictures and stuff for the three gunmen. So they'll come into the scene, which is really cool. And Scully follows a list of people from, it was the Mutual UFO Network. There was an abbreviation constantly used throughout the show. She goes to pinpoint a certain gal. Come to find out, there's a group of ladies who she ends up having a conversation with who are positive they know her from their abduction memories, and it all leads, really what it leads to is the beginning of the great reveal, and that is the Scully cancer arc of season 4 begins to be unraveled here before our eyes. And it's really disturbing because you can tell Scully is really freaked out and scared by the time she gets back with Mulder and tells him about what has happened. But apparently these girls, one of them, the main girl she went to go see, is in the hospital with just tumors filling up her body, and there's no way to treat it. They can't treat it. And the women are all afraid that as a result of their abductions, they're all going to die like this. And that begs the question, what about Scully? And so that is first introduced here in episode 9 in season 3, which will be, I'm sure, a hard arc to work through next season as we get there. But it also expands or opens up a bit of discussion on Unit 731. These are all Japanese characters who are involved in this alien autopsy or attempt to create an alien hybrid. Unit 731 was involved, this is a Japanese unit involved in human experiments, both biological, chemical warfare unit, and I'm pretty sure I wrote it down here. Biological, chemical warfare research engaged in lethal human experimentation from 1931 to 45, roughly 14,000 victims directly, estimated 300,000 have died due to the effect of diseases, infectious diseases caused by the experiments this group is up to. So they're the equivalents of sorts to the German SS, and in terms of the experiments on people. And so they're the ones who are sort of front and center. These are remnants of this group who have been recruited by the U.S. government to work on this alien hybrid of sorts. But it begs a lot of different questions, because why are they all gunned down by what seems like the U.S. military, who then take this? And so Mulder will, get onto this and get closer to where at one point X will confront Scully in the end and warn her, the train I alluded to earlier, warn her that she has got to make sure Mulder does not get on that train. It is the utmost imperative, because they know that he is getting real close, and so his life is definitely in danger. I'm just kind of looking at my notes. I'm sorry. I mentioned David jumping onto the train, 6 weeks it took, which is amazing. I think I pretty much scanned over. So, you have that arc that is beginning to be built with Scully. You have, as we lead quickly to the end of the episode, and to be continued, because this will lead right into 731, we find Mulder is given he's basically given an option. Scully's begging with him not to jump, or, not to get on this train. And there he is on the bridge, and he's like, I'll never get this chance again. And we know. So he'll jump, and the episode will end on that note, not knowing what leads into 731 or what will happen with Mulder. But it appears as though we are, beginning to really build this arc in terms of, there's some other things going on here, too, in terms of, I was reading a little bit somewhere where, the X-Files, it seems, in moments like this episode, is always putting up warning signs in terms of science, and often how science will seemingly move to undermine the fabric of our existence by their meddling, their tempting fate, by doing things they ought not to do. And even though Scully is, in the medical arts, a scientist of sorts, she's always cast in a very good light. But most are not, which is an interesting theme that deals with. There is a I'm just thinking in the middle of you got the moment with the three gunmen, which are quickly able to tell Mulder of a ship that's in the photograph. It's the Telepus. He is able to find it at a shipyard, and even though he's told that it went back out to sea, it's right there in the shipyard. They just took the name off of it, but he ascertains the name off of some clothing inside the ship. But before he can really do a good look-see, our favorite troops show up, and he is able to make a daring last-second escape. But before he gets completely out of Dodge, he'll peer into a warehouse and see what looks to be perhaps a recovered spacecraft of sorts. So hopefully these are some of the things that we will encounter in 731 as we push. And of course, not just scientists, but, the government is not to be trusted like ever. And, if you weren't a cynic of sorts coming into this series, it can make you into one, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of truth, or what appears to be truth-esque things buried in the heap of these episodes, which is, they say, life imitates art imitates life, and all of that. I don't know. Sometimes I think, when you watch the opening demolition of the building in the X-Files movie Fight the Future, that has to be a nod to the Oklahoma City bombing. And of course, the question is of a conspiratorial nature, that what ultimately is not what we were told. Obviously, this is fictionalized in a film, but if you read accounts on that, there were conspiracy theories abounding in terms of who was involved with that. So that's interesting. And so, anyways, last thing I want to mention real quick. I know I'm getting kind of long on this. I did notice, I don't know why I've never mentioned this before, but you can buy. I'm not a real advocate at all of streaming or buying digitally, but for those who may be, I did notice, if you've never noticed or checked it out, season 3 you can purchase for $14.69 and have the whole season digitally in your deal there, or the episodes go for $1.99 each. But if you're looking for all 11 seasons on Blu-ray, I did look on Amazon, $135.15. Now, I thought, where is it? Oh, it's not on this. I thought okay, so anytime you see this stuff, you kind of get the sense that maybe it's region locked. I read a comment down below in the Amazon deal, where somebody said, thankfully, they had feared that it might be region locked, but they put it in their Blue Player, normal Blue Player, not region free, and it worked fine. And so I ran one of my discs upstairs into my bedroom, and I just have a normal old Blu-ray player in there, and popped it in there, and lo and behold, I thought it was region locked. This for 135, all 11 seasons, Blu-ray is not region locked, and you can play it in your Blu-ray player, as I did. And I know this looks like a mess to have to deal with, but it's not near as bad. It's not near as bad as it looks. I've gotten quite used to it. Of course, reviewing these, I'm constantly opening up, working my way through down. So I'm probably in this more than the average viewer, unless they're really serious about just watching it all the time, or you're following me. So I think that's about it for this. So Nisei, first part of a two-parter, reveals quite a bit of intrigue, quite a bit of things that will come down, that are coming down the pike, and we will see, man, what 731 holds for us. So a little bit long on this one, so my apologies. Hope you watch for the whole thing. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.